Okay, we are jumping into modeling, and this lesson is called Modeling Points. And you might be like, oh, Zach's got some great pointers and technique. Well, no. I mean, yes, but this lesson actually has more to do with points, like the actual vertice points of an object. This is very important to modeling because, well, you know what, you'll find out here in a second. So let's go ahead and create a cube. Let's go over a few modeling basics. You remember up here we've got the move tool, the rotate, and the scale. By the way, the key commands, or I don't know if I pointed this out or not, but they're always down here at the bottom. So look, when I hold my mouse over a tool, it says the shortcut E. So E is the regular move. I can do this. R is rotate, and T is scale. So get to know those. You'll use those a lot. And it's great because your fingers are already right up there next to 1, 2, and 3. And if you remember, those are up here. But this is modeling. We already covered that. If you need a refresher, go back to the beginning. So we're starting with a cube, and we have cube settings that can be adjusted. And so if you select your cube, you can come down to the attributes, which we also talked about. And you've got a basic tab where you can change the name, and we've got coordinates where you can actually literally adjust them here with numbers, which, by the way, you may think, oh, I'll never use that, I'll just adjust by hand. No, someday you will be using these to get precision. Then we've got object properties, and this is what I'm talking about a little bit more here. We've got the size, so I can adjust this to like 500, and then the X, it got expanded. Not the same thing if I had just gone up to my scale and pulled it that direction. I could have done that though. So if you look on your scale button, it's got a yellow button. Let's see if I can make it more clear. On each axis, you've got some scale you can adjust. So you can just grab it and move it. And if I go back to my cube settings, you can see in the objects it changes. Watch those numbers change. So the Y axis is changing here. This will move the X. Okay? Now there's 6 faces to a cube. Let's bump this back to default, which is 200, 200, 200. And I want to talk about subdivision. So you've got your cube here, and we've got segments. These are subdivisions where you can add as much as you want to the cube. But the problem is, it doesn't really matter in the end right now because it's a cube and there's 6 faces, and we're not changing the amount of faces. So this doesn't help us, right? But let me see if I can explain this with a sphere. Let me delete this cube because no one needs a cube. You've got your object segments here, and it's obvious if I go to 1, well, here's the base of a sphere object segment. Now, if I bring it up, you'll see there's a certain point where it becomes pointless to have more segments. Notice if I go to render this at 9 segments, we see it looks lumpy, right? We can go around and see it looks lumpy. Go to render, and it's a perfect sphere. You're like, what's up with that? Well, there's a button here. It's called Render Perfect. And so if you uncheck that, and it'll now render the way we see it, which is all lumpy. So that's what's going on there. So this is a menu that you're going to use heavily in modeling. You need to learn how to keep your projects clean. And so my point is literally about points right now. This is what I was talking about in the beginning. I'm going to show you how to edit your points. First of all, you've got this button right here, which you can use to select points. This one, edges, and this one, polygons or faces. But notice how if I go click out here, nothing happens. I mean, nothing's going on. We need to make this object editable. So I'm going to go up here. Did I just say edible, like eatable? No, I mean editable. And the shortcut is C, as you can see below. Who wants to eat an object? And now, since I have that button selected, I can actually select a face and delete. I scale up, you can see it's now a see-through sphere, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and say we delete all these edges like this right there, and we've got this big gap. I guess we could start to make like the Death Star, right? From Star Wars. If we made it, yeah. Maybe we'll model that later. That'd be fun. Anyway, we've got this big gap here, and let me show you in the points the problem we have. You can see we have 2 points that are left over. Do you see those points right here that are floating out in space? this one, and this one. Right there. These points are floating around in space, and that's a really big no-no because you left your stuff here. You're modeling a really nice car, let's say, and the problem you're going to have is your project's going to be super messy, so you can't leave points around in modeling. This is a huge, huge thing. Please listen closely. Delete these points. Or, I mean, if you want them there, you can keep them there. That's fine. I don't know why you'd want them there if you want to maybe reconnect later. But if you want to delete them, just select them and get rid of them. So the better way to actually create what I just created, this gap hole, let me undo everything really fast here. The better way would have been to actually select the points instead of deleting faces like I did. So if I select this point up here, I can delete that, and I could also select this point right here and delete that. Well, I mean, I still have this right here to get rid of, but that's no big deal. It just helps to remind you, if you're deleting points first, not to forget them. You won't have messy projects. So that's kind of my order of operations. If I'm doing something, I'm going to delete points first. It usually works out better. So nothing can exist without vertices or points. That gives you a little introduction to these tools and a huge, I'm not going to stop saying it, keep your projects clean or you will go insane. Okay?